Have you ever wondered who created Mickey Mouse or built an entertainment empire that has lasted for over 100 years? Well, his name was Walt Disney. He was an American film producer, director, screenwriter, animator, voice actor, and one of the most important figures in the history of the American entertainment industry. And if you're curious to learn more about him, stay tuned until the end of this video. Here is the biography of Walt Disney. Early life and beginnings. Walter Elias Disney was born on December 5, 1901 in Chicago, Illinois. But he grew up in a farm community near Marceline, Missouri. His father, Elias Disney, was a middle-class Irish-American who worked as a real estate salesman, and his mother, Flora Call Disney, was a Scottish-American teacher who had been an active member of the Women's Christian Temperance Union before her marriage. She homeschooled Walt and his 4 siblings, teaching them literature, music, and art. At age 10, Walt was sent to the nearby small town of Marceline to attend school. There, he befriended a boy named Henry Direx, who would become his first business partner. Together, they made money selling newspapers, magazines, and local produce. By age 13, Walt had saved enough money to purchase a $35 film projector, with which he and Henry delighted their friends by putting on shows at each other's houses. However, when the novelty wore off, Walt began experimenting with making his own films and animation. After filming live-action shorts with his siblings, he started drawing pictures and tracing them onto transparent sheets of celluloid, an early form of animation. In 1917, Walt and his family moved back to Chicago, where he enrolled at McKinley High School. After graduating in 1920, Walt decided to join the Red Cross Ambulance Corps and serve overseas during World War I, but he was rejected because he was underage. Instead, he enlisted in the U.S. Army's Quartermaster Corps and was sent to France, where he drove ambulances and collected supplies. When he returned home in 1919, Walt attended the University of Missouri for a year, studying advertising. Then he took a job at a Kansas City ad agency, but soon left to co-found a commercial art studio with his friend, Ub Iwerks. The company, Iwerks and Disney, specialized in creating animated advertising pitches for clients such as soap companies. And while it wasn't very successful, it gave Walt experience in animation. It also allowed him to develop his artistic skills and experiment with new techniques, the creation of laugh-o-gram films. In 1922, Walt and Ub partnered with 2 other artists, Fred Harmon and Paul Lippincott, to form a new company called Laugh-O-Gram Films. This time, instead of working with clients, they decided to produce their own animated cartoons based on fairy tales and classic literature. Their first series, The Little Red Riding Hood, was a success and received national attention. However, the company soon ran into financial problems due to mismanagement and unpaid debts. To make matters worse, Walt and Ub had a falling out over credit and ownership of the company. So Walt decided to leave Kansas City and start fresh in Hollywood. With just $40 in his pocket, Walt boarded a train to California and found work as a cartoonist at an animation studio called Disney Brothers Cartoon Studio, which was founded by his older brother, Roy. At night, Walt worked on his own animation projects, including a series of animated fairy tales. In 1926, he co-created a character named Oswald the Lucky Rabbit, who became the studio's biggest hit. But as with Laugh-O-Gram, Walt and his brother Roy had a disagreement over credit and profits. This time it was with Universal Pictures, their distributor, who took all the profits and gave them none. Fed up with being taken advantage of, Walt decided to strike out on his own once again. This time, he created a new character named Mickey Mouse, based on a small mouse he used to see in his apartment. On October 18, 1928, Mickey debuted in the short film Steamboat Willie, which featured synchronized sound and became an instant sensation. Over the next decade, Walt produced hundreds of Mickey Mouse cartoons, as well as other popular characters like Minnie Mouse, Donald Duck, and Goofy. In 1932, he incorporated his studio under the name of Disney Brothers Cartoon Studio, which later became known simply as Walt Disney Productions. During this period, Walt won 7 Academy Awards for his animation, becoming the first person to receive multiple Oscars. He also pioneered new animation techniques, such as Technicolor, which he used in the 1930s to create some of his most iconic films, including Snow White and the Seven Dwarfs, Pinocchio, and Fantasia, World War II, and beyond. He also served in the U.S. Army Air Forces, where he directed training films for pilots and air crews. After the war, Walt resumed making feature-length animated films such as Saludos Amigos, The Three Caballeros, Make Mine Music, and Fun and Fancy Free. But he soon faced a creative challenge: how to top his previous successes without repeating himself. One day, he read a book called The Saga of the Volsungs, which inspired him to create a new kind of film, one that combined animation and live action. The result was the 1950 film Treasure Island, followed by another adaptation of a classic novel, The Swiss Family Robinson, in 1960. These films were not as popular as his earlier works, but they demonstrated Walt's versatility as a filmmaker, the final years, and legacy. In the 1960s, Walt Disney Productions expanded into new areas such as television and theme parks. In 1964, Walt opened the first Disney theme park, Disneyland, in Anaheim, California, which became a huge hit with families and children. He also hosted the 1964 New York World's Fair, where he unveiled his latest and greatest project, the Experimental Prototype Community of Tomorrow, or Epcot. Unfortunately, Walt never saw the finished version of Epcot, as he died on December 15, 1966, at the age of 65 from lung cancer, a disease he developed from smoking. He was survived by his wife Lillian and 2 daughters, Diane and Sharon. After Walt's death, Roy Disney completed Epcot and dedicated it to his brother's memory. Meanwhile, Walt's daughters took over the family business and continued his legacy by releasing new Disney films and expanding the theme park empire to new locations around the world, such as the Tokyo Disney Resort in 1983, the Euro Disney Resort in 1992, and the Hong Kong Disneyland Resort in 2005. Today, Walt Disney Productions is known as the Walt Disney Company, and it is one of the most valuable brands in the world with a net worth of over $85 billion. Its theme parks, resorts, merchandise, streaming services, and movie studios continue to entertain and inspire people of all ages, just as Walt intended when he first created Mickey Mouse almost a century ago. Personal life. Walt Disney was a private person who valued his privacy and that of his family. He married his high school sweetheart, Lillian Bounds, in 1925. They had 2 daughters, Diane and Sharon, and they lived in a modest house in Holmby Hills, Los Angeles. Walt was known for his work ethic and perfectionism. He was a demanding boss who expected the best from his employees, but he was also generous and loyal. He paid his animators and artists top salaries and benefits, and he treated them like family. He was also a visionary leader who was always looking for new ways to innovate and improve his films and theme parks. He was a pioneer of new animation techniques, such as Technicolor and CinemaScope. And he was one of the first filmmakers to use computer animation in his movies. He was also a philanthropist who donated millions of dollars to charities and causes he believed in. He supported the arts, education, health, and the environment. He also created the Walt Disney Company's official charity, the Walt Disney Company's Children's Fund, which helps children in need. Some interesting facts about Walt Disney. Now let's move on to some fun facts about Walt Disney. Number 1, he was a heavy smoker all his life and smoked at least 2 packs of cigarettes a day. That's why he developed lung cancer. Number 2, he was a teetotaler who never drank alcohol or coffee. He said he didn't like to waste his time or his senses on artificial stimulants. Number 3, he was a talented singer and played several instruments, including the piano, guitar, and harmonica. He even sang for Disney characters like Mickey Mouse and Donald Duck. Number 4. He was a World War II veteran who served in the U.S. Army Air Forces and directed training films for pilots and air crews. Number 5. He was a huge fan of classical music and opera and conducted many Disney soundtracks himself. He said music was the emotional heart of his films. Number 6. He was a dog lover who owned several pets throughout his life. He had a terrier mix named Davy and a Great Dane named Wolfie. Number 7. He was a perfectionist who often redid his films and theme parks multiple times until he was satisfied. He was famous for saying, "If you can dream it, you can do it." I hope you enjoyed this biography of Walt Disney, one of the most influential and successful entertainers of all time. If you want to know more about him or his creations, I encourage you to watch some of our other videos, such as the history of Mickey Mouse or the secrets of Disneyland. Thank you for watching, and see you in the next video.